in townships is what really offers the opportunity. There's massive consumption in townships. We know that. And township economies are cash-based. We know that. And we've got to find ways of integrating those economic services into the mainstream. Well, they're already in the mainstream. We just need to acknowledge them and grow them. I mean, imagine the South African economy without townships, without this consumption in townships. You're not going to have an economy. We've got a massive market locally. And in terms of growth in 2022, the Free State economy was one of the fastest growers. And that's going to happen with the strategic positioning of the Free State. As this economy expands, definitely the Free State will reflect that. It's an opportunity that needs to be captured, MEC. It's an opportunity that needs to be captured. Developing areas in the Free State and other provinces will help the government to deal with, for instance, the rapid pace of urbanization in Gauteng, which is a huge problem. Right. Dr. Pokonzi talked earlier about the district development model. That's got to happen. Coordinate development at the district level, get the economy growing. We need a uniform pattern of growth in South Africa. We shouldn't follow the model of China, where the East is well developed and the rest of the country, England, is a completely different place. We need to move away from a model where, and this is where South Africa has been, by the way, relying on migrant labor, where people have got to travel long distances to get to their place of work, and even during the holidays to go home. So I believe that, the Free State is well positioned to benefit from what I see as an upturn in the South African economy, which the private sector is actively participating in and taking a lead, by the way. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Maser. With the presentation that you have, all right. MEC is proposing to have the questions and answers quickly. Please note the questions if you may, and then from there we would immediately break for lunch. So for now, let's open for questions. MEC?
To use the mic. Thank you very much. I'm pleased that a corporate economist provides us a perspective as a government about opportunities amidst the challenges. And I've listened to corporate economists, and often there's a gap in understanding how our communities can benefit of such opportunities, because largely it is your more established conglomerates, for example, that have access to the opportunities given such great challenges in our economy. Now, we've heard, colleagues, that there are energy opportunities, there is a logistics opportunity, and there's services opportunity. So I'm posing the question not to Mr. Masejo, but I'm posing the question to the colloquium. do we find short and long-term mechanisms or plans to capture the two nodes in which centrally everybody has to meet? And I can come up with ideas. Example, tourism. Example, our
Transit.
sorry?
Transit.
No, that's the logistics side. But I'm saying which sectors would we be able to invest in or develop so that we could capture those individuals in spending money? So look, we can look at the first stream, which is investment opportunities for business. We are a province where the capital is with the judiciary capital, right? We need an ICC to be able to say, why are we not having the world's or the continent's judiciary workshop or seminar happening in Mangaung, Free State? Because we are the judiciary capital of the country. So those are some of the ideas, but it needs plans. It needs to be formulated in a way that it can be doable. We talk about all these things, and yes, I agree, we're saying these things. ICC has been there how many years? We're repeating ourselves. But my question that I'm posing to this colloquium is, give us recommendations that is going to make this doable. If you are saying, let us do this in a triple P, call out for investors. Where do we find the money? How do we ensure that the systems and the processes and the compliance that we have to deal with in terms of our compliance and regulatory requirements? Give us those ideas and recommendations so that we could take some of these opportunities forward. So, in a nutshell, Program Director, my question to the colloquium is, we identified out of this presentation, which was excellent, 3 core opportunities. How do we break that down and say, what can Free Staters and non-skilled, emerging, also SMMEs, how do we break that up in tiers, in actions? How do we make sure that this colloquium comes out with an action plan so that ourselves as Free Staters can benefit out of those opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. Do we have another question? Paul, noted. Steve, yeah, you can start now that you have a mic.
No, thank you very much. Very impressive presentation, very informative. I also wanted to piggyback on the issue that was raised by MEC earlier on, the issue of agriculture, that sector. Because if you look around 2020, 2021 year, our economy, our provincial economy, I think somewhere in 2021, we grew by 3.5% around there on the back of the agricultural sector. So I also want to take this into our discussions when we sit with our principals, we discuss budget allocations and so forth. We are always taken into task with regard to the allocation of budget to the sector. The issues that there's evidence in terms of the growth of the sector in those 2 financial years. So we've been arguing and saying, no. Our view is that in those 2 years, the sector grew because of the COVID impact. So the issue was that they were not impacted by the lockdown as much as your other sectors were. So what you are presenting to me, I just want to confirm with you that our argument then was correct in terms of saying it was COVID. It's not really the issue of the sector that basically has potential to grow going forward. So it was just the issue of the COVID in those 2 years, if I can get that confirmation.
Noted. We have another hand there. Mpo.
Thank you very much again. I would want to avoid lamentation. Number one, the problem of energy in South Africa is not load shedding. I can't buy a car today, and then when I don't maintain it, and then the gearbox go pop kaput, I would blame the car. I will have to take a blame as an owner and a driver at the same time. So it's the problem of leadership, not load shedding. Two, the proponents of a failed state use also a load shedding as a typical example of what a South African failed state is. But when they don't want to tell us the truth, that they want to collapse what would you call a state capitalism vis-a-vis private capitalism. Because when you shut down the cold production energy, you affect Mangaung through Sentlek. And unfortunately now, with its own challenges, Sentlek is the biggest revenue collector of Mangaung. I went to Germany in 2016. I went to one of the mines they have converted into museums. Big one. But as today, who wants the South African coal? The very same proponents of the alternative energy source are the ones who want the South African coal. But who owns the South African coal supply chain? Two, yes, the Free State is a strategic center of the economy of South Africa. Again, it goes back, MEC, to the leadership. We have failed, in fact, we have not failed. Deliberately, we took a decision to collapse the position of the Free State in the national political economic game. Deliberately. And we call it a fail. It was deliberate to collapse our economy in order that Johannesburg and other economies must thrive. But it's also an indictment, and today I charge anyone who wants to elevate a service sector economy against production economy and manufacturing economy, which agriculture is part of it, and say, let's relegate agriculture into the others because now the service economy is now, it's at the play. Anyone who does that, I charge him today. That one I want to be honest with. This is the South African, we say what bucket? Bread bucket. Now when you take the bread from me, am I going to eat the service economy? It can't be correct. It's wrong. Lastly, I charge anyone who advances what you call a township economy. Some years back, you didn't call it a township economy. You called it a second economy, which was advanced by the then president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. The second economy. But what is economy? Economy is production. It's manufacturing. And those people who are assembling all of them and then assemble their income and we call it the township economy. They are consumerist. They are consumerist and they should continue to consume in order the economy. And those who held it at the stock exchange must continue to thrive. And today we have our own brothers and sisters advancing what we call the township economy. We want to own this economy. We want to see black people in the stock exchange. That is what there's only one economy. There's no second economy. There's no township economy. There's one economy. And that economy, get it at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Who owns it? Not even South Africans.
Mpo, I can see you are getting warmed up. I want us to wrap up a bit. I note a hand there, doctor, at the back. Can we be assisted with the mic? Colleagues, whilst the mic is going there, we must also understand that this particular platform has been created because there are problems. There are problems that we want to be able to identify and solve. And as we engage in this particular platform, let us also contribute and give value to the discussions that we now having. Talk over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair, Program Director. I'm from the Free State Provincial Treasury Economic Analysis. Now, I just want to make it clear, right? When we argue, we must argue with evidence, both empirical and qualitative. Now, number one, when we're talking about service sector, perhaps that is what the data is showing now, post-COVID period. But then we must realize that the labor market has dynamically changed. It has become highly skilled, whereby unemployment, look, even if you have master's degree now, it's difficult for you to get a job. So when you look at the service sector, you are looking at it in the space of highly skilled individual that can be employed in there. But now when you come to the reality, to the basic, when you look at productive sectors such as agric, look at manufacturing and mining, which is actually declining in the Free State. These are the sectors that can absorb obsolete skill, which made up 80% of unemployment rate, both at the national level and the provincial level. Now, in this particular sector, you don't need a degree to be a farmer. You don't need a matric. All right, so this creates a balancing scale for the government. Why you want to gear yourself? Of course, the new emergence in the economy now is towards the service sector, even among the BRICS economy. But then, when we come to the reality at the provincial level, in other words, you are standing on a two-pillar. While you are moving towards, diversifying the economy, which is what is being stressed, towards the towards the service sector. At the same time, you need to focus on the productive sector, because if you leave the productive sector behind, a diminishing return is going to set in the service sector. But then remember that your service sector is highly skills, not those that have obsolete skills, which makes the largest proportion of unemployment. So the question is, do you want to reduce unemployment or not? If you really want to do that, you focus as well on the productive sector, like the MEC have rightly said. But at the other side, if you want to, advance the economy in terms of skill, then you look at the service sector. Then again, I want us to the argument that my brother, highly intellectual brother, is making. Look, it is arguable. They said economists, you don't believe them. Economists are twofold, on one hand and on the other hand. All right, so now when we talk about the emergence of township economy, now this is working for our tank. What we are trying to say is that we are not disaggregating the economy into two. There is what we call evolution of economy over a period. So as it stands now, there is an emergence or focus on township economy, because that is where you can have the woman that is selling makoya on the street. All right? That is the focus that is the economy is going towards now. It's not that maybe we're separating the economy. Towards, as the economy evolves over time, there will definitely be change within that economy. So as we are standing now, township economy, go anywhere, both internationally and, you go to IMF, look at World Bank, look at OECD. Go to international conference or regional conference. Township economy is the hot cake now. So what we are trying to say is that to capitalize on this drive, particularly at the provincial level, where we know that resources are limited, what can we do to reduce unemployment, stimulate growth at the local level? That is where township economy comes from. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I understand your argument, and I think it is valid. But for the purpose of today, if we look at the pure definition of economy, it says that the country or region, in terms of production and consumption of goods and services and supply of money. And ultimately, that was the presentation. So while we have to produce, while you're right, we must deal with the primary sector, we must be able to create industry, we must be able to manufacture, there is also an element of consumption. And that consumption then determines how we balance and deal, and of course our balance of payments, our trade numbers or trading numbers, export, imports, all is derived from that term economy. And it includes consumption and production. So we cannot push production without understanding consumption. And yes, our communities may consume. However, that consumption is the benefit to production. The trick is that we have to produce within the Free State for Free Staters to consume. And that then becomes a stronger economy. And that's what we want to try and affect here. Now, nothing stops a fintech company in a township to become one of the first members on the stock exchange, on the JSE. Just imagine that 64% of young people who put their cash in a jar. Let us get a young person, a fintech company, and I'm challenging the banks, don't take this idea, get some young person to do it. Bank those ones, and they can also then eventually become one of the JSE members. But it's our narrative. Because we still, and this is why I'm thinking that we're going to miss the boat on AI, is that if we don't believe in ourselves, that we can become a leader in the fintech technology, Bitcoin, digital financing, this yo-yo, the tap and go, the iWatch tap, whatever it is, if we are not going to lead that as South Africans, as a Kasi sister, somebody who comes from the township myself, we're not going to lead it. We're not going to have that opportunity, but we've got to start believing in ourselves. And nothing stops one of us from becoming a fintech specialist on the stock exchange. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, colleagues. Yeah, there were a number of questions that were raised here, but please don't attempt to talk to each and every one of them to conclusion. The forum here is set up for such things. But your inputs, there were direct questions to the issues of agriculture. There were also arrangements that were raised there. Over to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Let me start with agriculture. Of course, you know, the numbers for 2020 will look different because agriculture is up there. During the lockdowns, agriculture could operate. Many sectors of the economy were closed, so the contribution of agriculture was higher. But I want to clarify that what I'm talking about here is the contribution, relative numbers. Agriculture is big, but we've seen growth in other sectors being a lot bigger. The new way of doing things after COVID, digitization and all that, has really boosted the ICT sector. Hence we've seen this, the services sectors really increasing quite significantly. Just to put it in perspective, and I go back to Mpho, because I think he misunderstood a lot of the many things I said. You cannot eat services, but tell me, answer me, between eating a loaf of bread and spending time on your cell phone, which one do you spend a lot more time on during the day? You don't eat the whole day. You don't eat the whole day, right? But the services you consume, a laptop in front of you and all that. You know, in ICT now, content creators, people in townships and all that, how much value do they generate? And how do we bring that, capture that, some of that value, and keep it within the township economies, advertising township economies and all that. The gentleman at the back there captured it quite well in words I couldn't put it in. The evolution of the economy. I know it's a politically sensitive term, township economics and second economy. It's a relic of our history. But let's talk about the money flowing in the historical townships and how do we integrate them into the mainstream of the economy. Let me give you an example about the agricultural sector. Nedbank was involved in this, and I'm not patting the bank, but I just want to give you an example. In Tembisa, the bank sponsored a group of young people who started a hydroponics project right in the middle of Tembisa, right? What do you do with hydroponics? You just get a, what do they call them? A tunnel, right? Shelves, water connections, seeds, you just feed them every day. Fresh vegetables come out of there. What happened? The money which was going to Kempton Park and Joburg and Midrand to buy vegetables is captured within Tembisa. That is the township revival of the township economy. Township, yeah, we can use it for location purposes right now, but it's about the flow of money, right? We have massive problems, logistical, transport in South Africa. Our people should not be queuing every morning by the taxis and be sitting in traffic to go either shop or work in downtown Joburg. Economic activity must happen where we are. And with load shedding, yes, we know the troubles that we have and all that. By the way, were you aware that in 2001, Eskom won a global award for the best electricity company in the world? In 2001. So we know the problems where they come from. But it's about the evolution of the economy, the evolution of electricity generation. We're not shutting down. We're not saying shut down the coal mines and shut down Eskom's power stations. Many of Eskom's power stations are old and they break down all the time, and even the update by Eskom executives yesterday admitted that. There are new power stations like Medupi and all that. Coal is very important. You mentioned Germany. Russia-Ukraine war starts in February 2022. Putin, in retaliation for the sanctions, Western sanctions, what does he do? He cuts gas supplies to Germany. What does Germany do? It recommissions its old coal-fired power stations that it had shut down 10 years ago, and Germany starts buying South African coal. Coal will still have a big role to play, but it's the way the economy is changing. Because the coal sector will only employ so many people. The population is growing. The labor force is growing. Which sectors of the economy are going to absorb those people? Is the this is my term of the day, evolution of the economy. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you very much. Colleagues, we are now at the end of the second tier of our presentations. Allow me to also take this opportunity to thank you for having been so cooperative and also noted during the presentations that were done today. I'm not so sure if you've noticed, when the MEC came here and she wanted to direct the program, and I said to her, no, I'm the program director. I need to deal with this type of issues in a particular way. It is an example of a particular issue that continues to happen in government also that we need to adopt. To be able to advise our principal as specialists in a particular sphere of things so that they can understand better as to how to execute some of those particular issues. I embrace the advices, and I also then say to all of us that we can do much more better when we collaborate, engage with each other at any given time, in part to have a central repository. It is not right that only during a colloquium, such potential of businesses that is available, you only get to hear them once off at this time. There must be a repository that is created where case studies can be put together. People in different economy can tap into that, not to recreate what has already been done before, so that we can learn much quicker, be able to evolve from where we are. I mean, majority of the things that we are trying to do have been done before by someone. So it is upon us to take those particular learnings that we have, and Nedbank and private sector being partners in this regard, to making sure that we are able to take the province forward. It is also another issue, colleagues, as we prepare to break, that whilst we want to raise the appetite of the Free State for government to buy the Free State, we must also raise the appetite of those who buy to buy in the Free State, in the private sector. You may find as well that majority of us are also not buying in private, that you're not buying anything that is made in the Free State. You rather prefer to buy online something that was developed elsewhere as opposed to having it done here. So it is incumbent to all of us to collect the data, to generate new information that people can be able to use to develop further. With those few words, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going for lunch, and that lunch will run for 40 minutes. All right. The MEC is pardoned. She will join us tomorrow. I'm looking for Mr. Tsolofelo David Mudirapula. They are here. Please see me immediately thereafter. Thank you very much.